everybody, and welcome to a video on the Constructive Criticism YouTube channel. I'm Spencer. I'm the host of Constructive Criticism, how do you say that? Owner of ConstructiveCriticism.com. I'm really excited to be back this week. I've been sick, I've been busy, I've been out of town. I got a new position at work, all kinds of crazy stuff, but I'm back. I want to talk about Standard. It's something that I'm preparing for because of the RPTQ that's coming up, I think that Standard's in a really good place right now. So I want to talk about Grixis Midrange. So if those of you watch the Trophy Mages, one of our daily streams, you saw me streaming, you know what? It's not on Trophy Mages. If you saw me on Constructed Clash, you saw me playing a 4-color midrange deck versus Mason. That's still a deck that I'm super interested in. To be honest, it's actually right here. If I click it, I don't actually know what will happen on Moto, or if Moto will crash, and this whole video will be a waste. I can't even use Moto. Oh, it was going to crash Moto. So, but yeah, this is still a deck that I'm interested in. Got tons of changes that I'm going to make. This actually isn't an updated list, but I'm still on the midrange train. And so today I want to talk to you about Grixis. So we're going to do a deck check on Grixis Control slash midrange. It's kind of in between, actually, to be honest, with this deck. And let's talk about that really quick. So the first up, we have 3 Magma Spray. We have 1 Argos Bloodfast, 4 Glint Sleeve Siphoner, 2 Abrade, 2 Harness Lightning, and if we come over here, we actually have a Cut Ribbons as well that we have in the deck. So, this is quite a bit of removal just on the front end. Harness Lightning, Cut Ribbons will kill a lot of the big stuff. Harness Lightning also acting as a little bit of extra energy throughout the deck. Abrade being able to kill large artifacts and be able to kill Heart of Kirin, things like that. And then you have, 2 Champion Wits, 2 Supreme Will, 3 Will of Virtuoso, 3 Nicol Bolas, 2 Chandra, 4 Veraska's Contempt, 1 Glimmer of Genius, 1 Liliana, 2 Scarab God, and 1 Torrential Gearhold. So, this deck is, almost, if I were to compare it to another mid-range deck, it would probably be closer to, Abzan Control, quote-unquote, than any other mid-range deck that I've played. Obviously, it's a little bit faster than that. You're playing 2 drops in this deck. But other than that, it is trying to be the mid-range control deck. This deck has very few dead cards against control in the main deck. It's basically just the 3 Magma Sprays. If we look at something like Cut, you can use that on, your own guy if you want to flash it back, so it's not completely dead. So, if you ever get to the point in the game where you can, end the game that way, it's a viable play to make in the deck. And then outside of that, that's it. That's all of the cards that you're not actually just happy to have against control. Because of the fact that control is now forced to typically play Torrential Gearhulk, Harness Lightning and Abrade actually aren't dead cards anymore, and they're going to typically win through those cards, especially when you consider that they're even going to be bringing some back with Scarab God, although hopefully you don't have to deal with that. But yeah, that's not something that's typically true of mid-range decks. One of the other things that you'll notice that I've done is I actually am playing Chandra. Most of the lists aren't playing Chandra, but I actually think one of the most powerful things you can do in this deck specifically is Chandra and Nicol Bolas being on the battlefield at the same time, because it just means that you're going to have mana to activate that Nicol Bolas, flip it over, and see the insane side of Nicol Bolas. The +2 to draw 2 cards, -3 to deal target 10 damage to a creature or a planeswalker to just kill something in play. Put target creature or planeswalker card from your graveyard onto the battlefield, -12, exile all but the bottom cards of target player's library. So, the front side of Nicol Bolas is already just playable. It's already a 4/4 dragon that makes them discard a card. Huge benefits. But the fact is that one of the ways to get a concession from your opponent really quick in this standard format is to be flipping that Nicol Bolas, so those 2 Chandras really help out. The other thing that you'll notice is I'm playing a Glimmer of Genius, a Torrential Gearhulk, I'm playing Supreme Wills. There's a lot of reasons for this. One of these Supreme Wills might even need to be an Essence Scatter. As I'm looking at this deck, I'm thinking about, what are the things that you lose to? Early Steel Leaf Champion into Vinemare is honestly just a problem for most of the good mid-range decks in Standard right now. Supreme Will does help with that, as well as the fact that, you're playing Cut instead of another Abrade and things like that. I think that being able to be the bigger mid-range deck against the decks trying to beat on those decks, while also still focusing on trying to beat that mono-green mid-range deck, or aggro deck, sorry, the Stompy deck, I think that you are gaining equity in a lot of matchups that way. I don't have in my list a lot of ways to really flood out, right? Between 2 Chandras, of Nicol Bolas that can flip on 7, Glimmer of Genius, the flashback of Champion of Wits, Argos Bloodfast, drawing cards off of Grixis Siphoner, this deck is going to accrue a lot of cards, and it's going to be hard for the deck to actually flood out because you have so much to do with your mana between Champion of Wits, Argo's Bloodfast, Nicol Bolas, and the extra cards from Chandra. So, that being said, I think that this deck is well positioned to do well for me going into the RPTQ, which is what I'm testing it for, and I think that it probably has a good shot at doing something well at your metagame, because this deck will kind of punish weird decks. So if your opponents are playing things that are off the wall, you might have a couple dead cards, but the sideboard's going to be diverse enough for you to really go into whatever type of package you want to be in at your local metagame, and even maybe you're playing a 1K or a SCG Classic. I think this deck does some good stuff in those metagames as well. So the lands we have are 26. This is important. We talked about how we don't think we're going to get flooded. It lets us play more lands, and it lets us play our big stuff. Like that Torrential Gearhulk, like activating Nicol Bolas, like having mana, things to do with our Chandra, things like that. We also, in that, are playing 7 cycle lands. We are playing 3 Canyon Slough and 4 Fetid Pools, so we're going all out on that. The mana base is very, very, very linear. It's just 4 Aether Hub, 3 Canyon Slough, 3 Dragon School Summit, 3 Drowned Catacomb, 4 Fetid Pools, 1 Island, 3 Mountain, 2 Spire Bluff Canal, 2 Surf Falls, 1 Swamp. The only thing that we really, really, really care about is having enough black mana on turn 2. I mean, if we just look at it, between Aether Hub, we have 4, 7, 10, 17, 18 to get 1 on turn 2 for our Grixis Siphoner. That's definitely enough. And the other thing that you focus on is red. You have the same start here, right? We have 10, 13, 17. So we actually are a little bit shorter on red, which is interesting. But I think that you can't afford to not play the cycle lands, and the reason for that is I don't want to move that to that because if we look at our blue sources, we have to have the right number of blue sources. Anyway, I could probably work on this mana base more. It's really streamlined. It hasn't given me any problems yet, but that doesn't mean it will. I think that just in general, the mana is pretty good right now for the 3-color wedge decks. Or not wedges, the 3-color shard decks. So Grixis, Bant, Jund, those decks, Esper, those decks have just a little bit better mana than the other decks right now. Especially when you want to play like a real 3-color deck. Now, this deck is mostly black, red, splash blue, right? It's very little blue cards, and most of the blue cards actually have red mana in them and even have black mana in them. But, that being said, Torrential Gearhulk, Scare God, these blue cards are the controlling top end that you want in this mid-range deck. So that's it for the main deck. Let's go to the sideboard. We have 2 Duress, 2 Chandra's Defeat, 3 Negate, 1 Argo's Bloodfast, 1 Abrade, 2 Doomfall, 1 Sweltering Suns, 1 Glimmer of Genius, 1 Confiscation Coup, and 1 Torrential Gearhulk. So as more blue-black mid-range decks and Esper decks enter, or not Esper, I mean Esper 2 possibly, but maybe not. But Grixis control decks, you want something like Confiscation Coup to really swing you in making sure that you have the most of what the matchup's important about. If the matchup is about Scarab God, me taking your Scarab God to get a Scarab God is one of the most powerful things that I can do. Obviously, you have things like another Glimmer and a Gearhulk to play a more controlling game. Baron Argo's Bloodfast to activate at instant speed, negates, duress, even Doomfalls if you need them. You can really just go straight into like a Grixis control deck in the control mirror with Grixis Siphoners. What more could you want there? It's around the aggro decks, I think that you have a pretty good aggro matchup, to be honest. I mean, if we just look at your removal spells at the smallest portion of the deck, you have 5, 6, 7, 8 removal spells here, plus Supreme Wills to, if we're on the play, those are very good. Chandra's Vraska's Contempts to clean up the big stuff. There's just a lot of removal in this deck to let you 1-for-1, and your other cards are so good at gaining you card advantage. It's kind of your dream scenario, and I think you should be pretty decent. I know that one of the reasons that blue-black was so good is because of how good it was against the aggro decks. So you want to kind of continue that trend and make sure that you keep your aggro matchup in line while you're trying to play a mid-range deck like this. One of the things we'll notice about the sideboard is that I'm not playing Hour of Devastation, so I don't know if people are keeping up on Moto. I think 2 of the last 3 5 lists had Hour of Devastation in it, and it could be correct to do that. Finding room in the sideboard to do that is something that I could be looking into, especially since it doesn't kill, Torrential Gearhulks, letting me really maximize the number of removal spells that I want in those matchups, as well as other things. So that being said, I'm really okay with this sideboard. We have the extra Braid that could be something else. We have the Sweltering Suns that could be something else. But this is what I'm trying out now. If you're playing locally, I highly recommend checking this list out. I'm going to probably try and stream it or record a video with it this week. Don't forget to check out our sponsor at... Oh, man. My glasses are going to come off. At Ink Gaming. You can use the code CCMTG10 at checkout to let them know that we sent you. Thank you so much to Ink Gaming. Thank you so much to everybody who goes to our Patreon page across all of our network. And thank you everybody for watching. Don't forget those like and sub buttons. And we'll see you guys all next week with another Deck Deck.